Hello everyone. 0 viewers for right now. I got my tea ready. This is a ginger tea with some mushroom powder. I know it looks really weird, but I'm pretty sure you know what that means. That means it's really healthy, right? All right, so welcome everyone. Welcome to my live. All right, hey Samuel. I don't think I can afford a house. Real, yup. That is real, right? Yeah, very real. Yup. I've been thinking about this like a lot lately, right? Because I just started working again, right? After not having worked in a while. And I shared this in another video of mine, but how I started putting some money in my retirement account for the first time beginning of this year, right? So right now I'm 39, and usually when you're 39 and if that's your first year investing or putting money in your retirement account, that's considered pretty late, right? Usually it's highly encouraged to start as soon as you can. But I pretty much, wasted my time too much in my 20s and my early 30s. So that's how I started so late, but it's better to put some money in my retirement account than never, right? So I'm glad I was able to start on that, but it's just that like buying a house is just really not even, it feels like it's not even an option for me anymore. Or I guess, because in my 20s I used to think that, okay, probably by 30 I'll be able to afford a house, or maybe at least like by 35. I don't know, I just had that in my mind. It's just going to happen, right? When I was in college, that I was thinking that I will, settle down. And I'll just be able to, put some down payment for a house and buy a house. I didn't really think too much of it, but I don't know. But considering current economy and how inflation has pretty much affected and pretty much fucked over lower class especially, right? And middle class too. I think buying a house, being able to afford a house, and it's definitely considered out of reach for a lot of people. Especially Generation Z and millennials, right? And the other day I read an article about how Gen Z and millennials are the very first generation that is actually financially worse off than their parents, right? Which is really crazy, right? Because especially as an immigrant, you would consider, or you would think that your kids would better than you, right? As parents, you would automatically assume that your children will do better than you, right? That's why you move to America, right? That's your whole goal, to help your kids to have a better life, right? To be able to offer something that as parents they could not, I guess, have back in their country, right? So that's why they move here. They bring their children and hoping that they'll be like their children will have better chance, their better opportunities, and like be able to afford a house for sure, right? But that's doesn't really seem like that's what's happening right now, especially in the current economy. So I don't know. All right, thanks. 18 people now. Thanks everyone for dropping by. I'm doing good, Rez. Thanks for asking. Hey, how is So I think I made a new layout right now for my live streaming, and I actually made the chat box like the font smaller than before. Do you guys like the current layout, or do you think that the current layout is the chat it's too small? What do you guys think? Hey Jay Funny. Yeah, houses in Seoul are really, really expensive. I think actually it's probably more expensive than here. A house in Seoul. Seoul is like the capital of Korea, right? And I think half the population of Korea actually live in Seoul. It's a very desired city in Korea, and everyone wants to live in Seoul. That's why it's really the housing market over there. It's pretty crazy right now. Yeah, good luck retiring in Seoul. Okay, hey 002. Okay, so you do like the current layout? All right. Okay. So going back to like my rant about how I feel like I'm not able to afford a house right now. Yeah, I mean, I'm in California, Southern California, and I think the median income or the median house price right now in Southern California is around 900 a million, right? I mean, okay, like so it's recommended that you put down at least 20% of the house price, right? So that would be $200,000 to put down, recommended, right? And how am I gonna come up with a $200,000? I don't make six-figure income right now. Like I said, I barely started my career, right? And I still have some student loans. I feel like the only positive thing I've got going, right, in terms of, I guess, how well or how I'm doing financially is that my parents are letting me stay with them, right? If I were to move out and live in my own apartment, maybe a studio, right? A studio right here where I'm at, it's at least $1,500, $1,700, right? $1,700, and one bedroom is like $2,000. And yeah, like there goes half of my paycheck, pretty much, or one third of my paycheck. I think actually close to half of my paycheck, right? So I can't, like, I don't think I could actually even move out on my own right now. I mean, I could, but then that means I will not be able to save up that much money, right, for my future, right? Let alone buying a house. And the housing price in California doesn't really seem like it's going to slow down at any time soon, right? The Fed, they started lowering interest rate again. So when they started raising the interest rate, it seemed like the housing market started to cool down. And also that's what I think was happening in California, except they pretty much not soon after, like soon after they started raising the interest rate at the Fed, they started lowering it back down, right? So that effect of like inflation, or I mean, I'm not too familiar or too much, I don't know too much about economy, but I feel like the housing market has, I mean, the damage has been done, right? So even if it's gonna slow down, the housing market price is gonna slow down, I feel like the damage has been done, and it has gone out of control. So people like myself, I pretty much come from a very poor family background, right? I'm still in lower class, so I mean, more than ever, it's almost nearly impossible for people like me to climb out of our class, pretty much, right? I mean, back then, I think when I was in my 20s, I was going to college. I mean, I was still, my family was still in lower class, but I just had this belief that, yeah, like in no time I'll be able to climb out of lower class, right? As soon as I get my degree, going to climb over to the middle class shouldn't be such a struggle. I don't know, like I just automatically assumed that climb up to the middle class shouldn't be a big deal. But now I feel like it's such a big deal because, like LA, for example, in LA, I think the poverty, like the poverty level, like income for poverty level, is considered up to I think $83,000. So if you make $82,000, $83,000, right, in LA, you're actually still considered like not poverty but low income, right? Which I think is crazy. $83,000 is actually a lot of money, right? So how can someone making $83,000 still be considered low income? I don't know. So I mean, I don't know what to say. Shouldn't we be able to buy a house? I don't know, like our parents were able to do. Like, why is buying a house considered a thing now that it seems so out of reach, right? And a lot of people may say that, hey, like you should move out of California, right? That's what you gotta do. That's what you're doing wrong. You're in California. That's why you're struggling financially, and that's why you cannot afford buying a house there, right? Just move out of California. And I think it's true, but I don't think it's entirely true, because that means that I'm gonna have to move away from my family, right? Which I don't want to do. I have my siblings here. I have both my nephew and niece. I actually want to see them grow up. I have my parents here, and if I just like move out of California like that, like I'm going to be pretty much separated from my family, right? Which I don't want to do. And also currently I actually like my job. Like I like working. I really like my coworkers, my manager. I like our CEO, and I feel like they're really caring people. This is the very first job I've actually had where it's not toxic, right? All these other jobs I had in the past, they're so toxic. The whole work environment was so toxic, it was just unbearable, right? My mental health tanked. A lot of traumatic events happened at work. And I really like working at my current job. But if I move out of California, like let's say I go to Nevada, right? That means I'm gonna have to give up my job, right? Which I really, really like. And I mean, nothing's really guaranteed in life, but I feel like it's just gonna be really, really hard for me to find a job that I'll be able to like, or like as much as I do with my current job. So I don't know. And also the thing is that I'm really, really bad with change. And you may say, oh, like, how can you be bad? Like, you have to be good, or at least like you have to expect change. Life is all about change, which I 100% agree, right? But I'm just trying to say that my innate preference, my personality, prefers status quo, right? That does not mean that I'm always trying to be stagnant and complacent. But I try my best to put myself in a situation where I can actually push myself for a change. But again, I think my innate personality is very neurotic. So I'm very, very bad with change. So let's say like for other people, they get a new job, right? And I think most people usually take a couple of months to adjust to new job, or to adjust to the new work environment, right? For me, I think it takes a lot longer than most people. For me, like it takes about 6 months, more, maybe even more, like a year. And I've been working at my current job for about a year and a half now. And I finally feel like, oh, like I'm settled. I feel settled, right? But then again, like nothing is guaranteed in life. So I feel like there's always a chance that I could be actually let go from my current job, right? I think there's always a possibility that I could get laid off depending on how well the company does. And I don't know, all of a sudden they may not like me. I don't know, they may not like my performance at work, and they may want to like let me go, right? Or the new CEO or new manager comes in and they want to change things around, and they may see me as like someone they don't want, right? Like anything could happen. But like for now, I feel like I really like where I'm at. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's not as simple as, oh, just move out of California, move out of your state, right? And some people say that, oh, like even change itself can be traumatic, right? Which I 100% agree. For me, change feels traumatic a lot of times, such as especially change like changing a job or relocating, right? I remember when I went to when I went to school, I had to move up to NorCal, right? Northern California. And that change was actually quite overwhelming for me because weather was different, especially during the winter time. It was raining a lot, which I really, really hated, right? And I just didn't like it over there. It was, even if it's still California, it really felt quite different than Southern California. And some people actually do end up really liking Northern California compared to Southern California, but it wasn't me. And I don't know, I think it was mainly because I just am not good with change. And I usually prefer something I'm familiar with, right? Not something I'm not familiar with. So I don't know how you guys may feel, but I've been saying this over and over in my previous videos, how I'm usually I'm someone very sensitive, right? I consider myself to be really, really sensitive, and maybe hypersensitive. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. And it's been really frustrating, right? Because I feel stuck. I wish I could actually have the freedom to do what I want, right? I wish I had the money to do what I want, right? I wish I had the money to be able to afford a house, but I really don't. And I feel like sometimes I don't know where this is going, right? All right, let's see. All right, hey Matthew, 529. All right. Okay, so do you guys like the current chat, right? The chat box, like the size of the chat. I made it smaller than before, so I don't know if you guys like it. Hey TBS Promotions, how are you? All right. And also the thing is that let's say like I'm able to save up $200,000, okay, which is like 20% of $1 million, right? Because $1 million is the median price of or average price of housing Southern California, right? Let's say I'm able to save up like $200,000 in the next 5 years, okay? By then, I feel like the housing median price is gonna go up even higher. So it's actually not. It might be, I don't know, like the price might be maybe $1 million, $1,100,000, or even $1,200,000, right? So pretty much, all this time I spent to save up for down payment. During that time, the housing price actually goes up, so it kind of evens out, right? So my down payment of $200,000 is not really going to help me to actually, in terms of like being able to afford a house, because it's kind of like canceled, right? My down payment, because of how the price went up. I don't know if that makes sense. Cali is already over immigrated. Yeah, I think also saw how an article about, so like during the baby boomers generation, right? During their time when they were buying a house, the price of their house was, I think, so the median price of in America, right? In the 1980s or 1970s, I believe, or 60s, they were saying how, during those times, the median price in America was only 3.5 times the median income in America, right? So 3.5 times the median income, right? But now the median house price in America is, I think it was like 5 or 6 or 7, something of those, one of those numbers, right? Of the median income in America right now. So it pretty much, the house price or the affordability, right, has gotten a lot worse. That's what the stats were showing, right? So if you wanted to buy a house back then, like during those baby boomers, it would, if they were to save 100% of their income, it would take them 3.5 years to be able to afford a house. As opposed to now, it would take us, the current generation, so Gen Z or millennials, 7, 6, 8 years, if they're saving 100% of their income, to be able to buy a house. right? So yeah, it's certainly like this current economy, it's not so good. It's really bad, especially for Gen Z and millennials, where when we can't even, I mean, buying a house is so out of reach right now. And I really don't think that those times prosperity that baby boomers had back in those days will ever come back. I feel like it's only going to get worse, right? I mean, I go out sometimes when I go out to eat like Korean food, let's say. My favorite food is pork. One of my favorite food is like pork soup, right? And pork soup in Korea, it's not really considered luxury food. Nothing like that. It's actually considered as lower class food because it's so affordable. I mean, it's still very tasty, right? But pork soup in Korea, they call it lower class food because it's affordable, it's cheap, right? But do you know how much it costs here? It costs $20 to pay for a pork soup. $20. And you go to In-N-Out, McDonald's, you order a burger and a drink and fries. Yeah, it costs like close to $20, if not more. It's very common now, right? For fast food. So the appeal of fast food is, I think, it's cheap, it's fast, it's still tasty, right? But I think biggest appeal, at least for me, was it's cheap, right? But it's not so cheap anymore. So what I used to do was that when I go In-N-Out, let's say, right, I just order a burger and a fries, and then I ask for a water cup sometimes, right? Or I ask for a small drink. So at least I can save maybe like 25 cents, 50 cents, right? And you can just refill, like, even if the cup is small, you can just always refill it, right? Get a refill. So maybe you just have to make more trips to those vending machine or the drinks thing, right? But hey Mojo, Mariposa, learn to cook and batch cook. Yeah, I think learning to cook is pretty much a life skill, right? Essential skill, especially these days, right? You should really know how to cook, right? Costco pizza, yeah. Right, Costco pizza is, yeah, I really like their chicken bake. I think chicken bake is still pretty cheap too. So, I mean, right now I live with my parents, but I just don't know how much longer I can, I guess, live with them. I think I'm very fortunate enough to have parents that actually allow their kid to live with them even at this age, right? But I heard how these days all the millennial Gen Z, right, they're moving back in with their parents from their before they were renting their own apartment, but now they're moving back in because even rent is so much. And paying for rent is one of the biggest expenses, right? Every month. It's like $1,000, $1,500, $2,000, $3,000, right? So yeah, I mean, if you could save at least like 1,000 or 2,000 every month by moving back in with your parents, that's a huge chunk of money you'll be able to save over a year, right? Which you can really use to maybe pay back your student loans or car loans, or pay off your credit cards, or save up for emergency fund, or down payment for a house in the future, right? But if you're just throwing that money for rent, it's just, I don't know, I feel like, especially for people like average people like myself, we really gotta go an extreme way to save. Otherwise, I feel like there's no way out. How do I even climb up anymore? Right? So for me, I think right now living with my parents is an option for me. Right? I mean, moving out to get my own apartment, it's not, I mean, I've thought about it, right? But I think it's not really an option anymore, because if I do that, I won't be able to save up any money. All my money pretty much will just go towards rent, and I won't be able to save up at all. And I really live just paycheck to paycheck, right? That's all I ever do. And if I do that, there's no hope, right? Hey, Ayano, Tatiama, good to see you again. 3 multi-generational housing saves so much money. Yeah, for sure. So if you are someone that, I don't know, has inherited a house from your parents' generation, or from your grandparents, right? Or if you're living with your parents' house, and then obviously, when they pass away, who are they going to give their house to, right? Unless they sell it. They're going to give it to their kids, right? So I think it's such a fortune. It's such a blessing if they are able to, if they have parents who already has bought a house. And yeah, it's like if they get a house, inherit a house, it's like a windfall, right? Windfall money, right? I feel like if you get a house from your parents or from your family, I feel like you're pretty much set for life. What else do you have to worry about other than food, maybe, right? So if you have a roof over your head, and house is like, if you own a house, it's already paid for, right? All you have to worry about is, I guess, pay property taxes. But if you don't have mortgage to pay for, then, I mean, you're pretty much set, I feel like. I feel like it's going to be such a huge relief, right? If you already have a house paid for, right? But if you're someone living paycheck to paycheck, if you don't really, I don't know, if you're still renting, every month you just have to think about, this month, how am I gonna be able to pay, have enough money to pay for rent sometimes, right? And the thing about rent is that I don't think renting is always a bad idea, because when you rent, it really gives you a lot of flexibility to be able to relocate depending on where you want to go, or depending on where you get your job. I think renting could be really, really beneficial. Just that every year, you can't always expect that your rent will go up. It's a given, right? most likely it's gonna go up. It's just a question of how much it will go up, right? It's not really a question of whether or not it will go up. Or right, yeah, whether or not it will go up, right? And in California, I think by law, I think in LA, by law, the landlords can only raise the rent up to 8% or 8.5%, something like that. So they cap it at 8.5%, and you think that, I mean, like, it's just mind-boggling, right? Like, how did they even come up with the arbitrary number? I mean, to me, it seems very arbitrary. Okay, like, why 8%? Because most people don't really get their salary raised by 8% every year. So if the landlords it's allowed to raise their rent by up to 8%, that means it's going to be harder every year for regular tenants, right? Like myself, to be able to afford it. Like every year, it's going to be harder and harder and harder to be able to pay for rent. It's going to take a bigger chunk out of your paycheck every year, right? I mean, right now, inflation, I think it's at sub 2% or 3%, right? But at one point, I think it went up as high as like 9%, right? Or 8%, 10%, something like that. It was really high. It really skyrocketed, right? Sorry guys, I'm sorry if I sound like I'm really ranting too much, but I don't know if I'm just complaining too much, but I've been feeling a lot more frustrated, especially lately, with how our economy is going and how the housing market is just how it's going, right? Hey, Carbon XL. Oh. Alright, thank you, Silent Coconut. Yeah, thanks for letting me share my thoughts. And also, I've seen this type of argument on Reddit. I'm on Reddit a lot, and people sometimes try to give advice of like, just get a job, like higher paying job. What's the problem? Why are you complaining? Right? Like, you chose your job that's low paying. Like, why don't you just go get a higher paying job? Problem solved. Like, what's the problem? It's you're blaming the economy, you're blaming the housing market, but it's actually you problem. It's not the economy, right? It's you problem. It's you that's not able to make that much money, right? You just gotta like pick what is that word? Pick yourself up by your bootstraps, right? That's all you gotta do. And even if there's some truth to it, the thing is that it's not as easy as just like jumping to a higher paying job. I feel like in order for you to be able to get a higher paying job, sometimes it involves more than just getting a higher paying job, right? So for me personally, I have tried to study programming, right? So I majored in cognitive science, and that major actually required us to take some programming classes, right? So I took some intro programming classes at Berkeley, and even if like it's intro, those are supposedly like easier classes compared to upper diff. Since those were weeder classes, it was pretty intense, right? And even if I was not, I think I was okay at programming, and I was able to pass one of those like really intense challenging classes at Berkeley, I just couldn't really see myself doing programming for the rest of my life. I just couldn't really do it for like, because I realized when you like tech industry, like programming, it's the way I see it is that it's a constantly hitting the wall. Pretty much, you get stuck in a problem, you Google it, you sit on your laptop like for hours trying to solve the problem or debug whatever, and it's pretty grueling experience, and it's really really excruciatingly painfully stressful. And I just felt like I was just burning out every day, right? And I feel like I don't really have high stress tolerance level compared to most people. So for me, like when I was learning programming, there were a lot of times I actually felt suicidal because I get stuck in a problem and for like hours, and I would have to like Google stuff, and I just constantly have to like try to figure it out where it might have gone wrong, right? And also like all these concepts or theories of algorithm, they're really really hard for me to understand. They were like very a lot of them were, how do I say this, which is really really hard. Like it was really extremely hard for me to understand. And a lot of times when I was at Berkeley, I really tried my best to, I guess, put in my best effort. Sometimes I would stay up all night trying to solve a problem, and every day I think I spent at least 5 to 6 hours code just on one class, like coding, right? Sometimes 8 to 10 hours, right? It was very normal. I did that for like 2 years. And then just to see myself doing that for the rest of my life, just sitting on my laptop for like hours every day. Also, the thing about tech is that it's so it's very fast-paced industry, and there's so many new languages and new frameworks that come out that I feel like you just have to be able to keep up, right? And I just hated learning new language, right? My favorite language was Python. I really loved that language because of its simplicity. But then when I was learning C++, Java, JavaScript, I think I like JavaScript, by the way. But some of the languages, I don't know. I didn't like learning them. And there's always something new or something you don't know. You never really know everything, right? I guess it applies to all careers and industry, but I don't know. There was just vast, immense amount of stuff to learn in programming, and I just couldn't do it, right? Where was I going with this? So I guess what I'm trying to say is that, like, what would happen, like, because everyone is different, right? For me, I'm not good at dealing with stress. My stress threshold is pretty low. I can easily burn out. I can easily stress out, right? So I don't really have the same, I guess, capacity. I may not have the same capacity as another person who actually may be able to do programming, right? Software engineering. So it's not as easy as like, okay, like since programming, software engineering job, it's higher paying, I just gotta jump the ship. It's just simple as that, right? But really, I don't think it's just as simple as that, as jumping the ship, right? Hey Nord, have I tried freelancing? Freelancing? Freelancing for what industry? Like, are you talking about programming? How's my chemo going? It has not started. I'm starting in 2 days, this Friday. So, Andrew, I'll let you know how it goes after this Friday. But I'm getting so nervous and anxious. That's all I can say for now. Freelance and pyramid scheme, commission based. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you so much. Alright, like anything, drawing, graphic design, content editing, even copywriting, many people are making ends meet by freelancing on Upwork. Oh yeah, well, kind of, but not really. Like I've tried designing, or a little bit. I tried to tinker with it a little bit, but I realized I'm not good at it. So I guess you could say that me doing YouTube as freelancing, right? So I guess this is my freelancing. Just me talking in front of the camera, which still feels very weird, right? And live streaming in front of you guys. I guess you could say this is freelancing. Yeah. So wow, 53 people watching right now on a Wednesday night. I feel like that's a lot of people watching. Especially on a Wednesday. Yeah, how is everyone doing on this Wednesday night? AD&D. Hey, Carbon XL. Hey, Patrick Goo. Good to see you again. How are you doing? Hey, Michelle. I'm doing okay. How are you? Yeah, I'm just venting. I guess I'm just venting and ranting. Pro soccer player, Samuel. That's too random. I'm 39, dude. I don't think I'll make it a pro. Not even amateur. Hey, Father Goose. Los Angeles saying hello. Hey. Get some ladies from this channel. Let's see here. All right. Oh, I look 25. I think it's the lighting that's making me look younger. Hey, Chaba. Thank you. I guess. Exotic dancing? What kind of exotic dancing? I suck at dancing, by the way. I really, really suck. So in this economy, I think working 2 jobs is the new norm, right? So everyone's talking about how we should grind. We should not settle with a single job anymore, right? And I mean, that's true, but I feel like how getting a new like getting a second job and side gig, it's how it's they are trying to, I guess, make it a new norm. It doesn't sit well with me, right? Because I mean, working 2 jobs, 3 jobs, constantly grinding, right? For what? To survive, pretty much. I feel like now if you are trying to work 2 jobs or 3 jobs, it's not necessarily because like you're trying to thrive. You're actually trying to survive, right? You're only working 2 jobs or 3 jobs because you have to. You have to work those like that many jobs because you have to survive, right? So now, like these days, working one single job, it's not enough for you to have a roof over your head and food on your table, right? So I don't know. I think almost it seems like we're now kind of being forced to work more than a single job, which I don't like. But what if like people are, especially people like Gen Z, right? They're struggling so much that they decide, all of them or a lot of them, big majority of them, decide to move back in with their parents. There's actually going to be more supply of maybe of the houses or apartments for rent, right? That's what I'm hoping for. I feel like that's probably a trend right now, right? Millennials and Gen Z, like they all moving back in with their parents. So all these extra or the apartments that were occupied, right, by the younger generation, they're now like vacant. I don't know. It's probably my fantasy, but I feel like that could actually impact the economy, housing market in a positive way to lower the price, right? Oh wow, SG707 Tech, you work full-time student and also full-time job. Yeah, no life. I mean, yeah, obviously, right? I mean, if you're working full-time and also you're full-time student, yeah, that that automatically assumes that no life for you, right? Because all your time is spent either working or studying. And doing either, like working full-time or being a full-time student, it's very challenging. It's hard, right? When I was going to school full-time, I struggled a lot. And then I had these people, these friends, some of my friends that was working part-time also while going to school full-time. I was like, damn, like how do you guys do that, right? Because I don't know, I was so exhausted just going to school full-time, doing all this homework. I felt like I was always playing this catch-up game, right? I was always falling behind the class. Even if like I was trying my best to keep up, I think just the pace of the class and the difficulty of the material, it just was too much for me, right? Also known as give up and live with your parents instead of destroying yourself. Yeah, I'm doing well. Josu. Good to see you, Josu. Hey, I wrote too. I work at a grocery store part-time. Sometimes it gets hard, like people being mean for no reason, etc. Yeah. Dealing with customers, I think it's one of the biggest challenge. Dealing with grumpy, angry customers that are ready to take it out on you because they hate their life, right? No? I in my 20s, I've worked um at a Korean, I worked as a server at a Korean restaurant, and yeah, I've had quite a plenty of those type of customers that would come in and just complain or just give us a hard time, right? Yeah. I feel you, I feel you. Customer service is always hard. Dealing with people, it's always hard. Also, when I was working at a logistics company, the one of the worst job I've ever had, one of the most toxic job I've ever had, because of how just horrible my employer was and how horrible my coworkers were. They're so toxic. But anyway, this is the one that actually made me go pick up lunches and coffees, Starbucks coffees for everyone every freaking day. But anyways, like, yeah, when I was working that job, sometimes, so my role was import coordinator, right? So I was responsible for a lot of shipments that was getting imported from overseas, especially from Korea. And so most of my customers were all Koreans, right? Koreans that live in the States. And if there's a delay for any of their shipment, they would like call me and just yell at me, just casually, right? Start screaming at me for like, why is my shipment getting delayed? It's all your fault, right? Just yelling at me. I'm like, why is it my fault that your shipment is getting delayed? I literally didn't do anything wrong. Like, how is it my fault that the ship, the vessel, it's taking like longer than usual because of the weather or the port was congested? I always try my best to explain to them, it's because of the congestion at the port. There was one time, or like good period of time at Long Beach Airport, when pretty much the whole, or the majority of the union, the workers, they went on a strike, right? So they didn't have enough people to handle all these shipments coming into the port. So a lot of the shipments that were coming in, they were getting delayed because, it just was taking forever. Like, there were not that many workers to process all these shipments, right? And then I had like customers just call me just nonstop every morning, throughout the day, just complaining to me, yelling at me, just trying to blame me, right? I don't know. It was a difficult time of my life. And I think like during that time, one thing I learned is how to be patient, I guess. And bullshit, right? I guess. SG707 says, worst job is working at my parents'. I can't even quit. You know that saying about, do you know why living with your parents is free? Because you're paying with your soul, right? So Yeah, I feel you, SG. Sometimes, yeah, working for your family or living with your parents, it can be very challenging. It can be very hard. And sometimes, like just the way my parents are, I feel like they're kind of like typical Asian parents, and they can be very, what is that word? They can be very naggy, right? Just constantly nagging and to the point that your just head is about to explode. They don't do that as much, I guess, but they still do it from time to time, right? And it feels like you're being really like micromanaged, right? Sometimes it feels like, man, like, do they even see me as an adult? Because you feel like you're still being treated like a 5-year-old kid. But I guess the thing is that, like, no matter how old you may be, to your parents, you're just a kid, right? Yeah, I mean, I'm 39, but probably I'm still a kid, for my parents. Like, that's just how they see me, right? But yeah, so like those are the things that can be very, very hard. But at the same time, I feel like, there are good things that my parents have, right? Good traits. They are generous enough for me to let me live with them even to this day. I don't think if I don't know, like if I had a kid, right? He's like 39. He's trying to still, just, I guess, just, yeah, just, what is that word? Just live as long as he can, like, with his parents, right? With me, right? Until, even if he may be 40, to save money. I don't think I'll be able to allow that. Right? Hey, Morio Anime. Good to see you again. I'm doing good. Hope you're doing well too. Thank you. Oh, hey, let's see. I can't see the chat. Hey, Kevin L. How is the treatment being going, boss? Kenji, is it looking good? So actually I haven't started the chemo yet. I'm starting it this Friday, so in 2 days. So I'll let you know, I guess, after my first chemo, how it goes. I'm just very scared. So, oh wow, I just hit 60 viewers. Oh my gosh. I think that's the highest I've ever seen. Wow, thanks for everyone for dropping by to watch my live stream. Hey Golden, let me see, I missed it. Oh, I missed again, sorry. Hey, oh wow, it's going up. Hey Alex Kim, good to see you. Hey the wall Mala, I hit 60 because of you. Thank you. Ooh, it's 57 now though. Just kidding. All right. So Kevin, you're asking me about like the symptoms I've had, right? So the most obvious symptoms I had was rectal bleeding. But looking back in hindsight, I think one of the other symptoms I had was actually, what is it? When I have bowel movement, like my stool was like a lot thinner than usual. Also, it was more watery. It wasn't diarrhea, but usually you know how like your bowel is like solid, right? But it was not as solid as before. So those were the symptoms I pretty much ignored. They say that every time there's a change in your bowel movement, so how often you go to the bathroom, right? Also, the shape or thickness of your stool can be a sign. The more obvious sign is like rectal bleeding, right? Things like that. Also, stomach pain. But I never had stomach pain though. Yeah. No pain at all. No pain really. But now after my colonoscopy, and they did all these tests, and they also did a scoping. Scoping means that they basically put this scope thing in your rectum, right? So like in your bottom, right, to take a look inside, pretty much. After they did that, it's been hurting. Like, I've been feeling constipated constantly throughout the day. It can feel pretty uncomfortable. If like this constipation almost feels like this pressuring pain. It's not unbearable, but it's just annoying, right? So when it gets bad, it's hard for me to fall asleep at night because it's just so noticeable, I guess. Yeah. And let me tell you a story. So I just told you how I did the scoping, right? So I saw oncologist. After I saw the oncologist, I saw radiation oncologist. And then I saw a surgeon, right? So when I went to go see the radiation oncologist, she wanted to scope me out too, right? She wanted to do some scoping. And I was like, is it going to hurt? And she was like, well, it's gonna be like a little bit painful, but yeah, like it's not too bad. So yeah, she has me kneel on my knees, right? So it's like, what do you call it? I don't know how to describe, but basically she had me kneel on that the chair, the patient chair or bed, whatever. And then like I had my head down and I was like kneeling. And then I think she used like her like maybe index finger to put it in. And I could feel her finger coming in, right? And I think I don't know if she put lubricant, but it really felt like she didn't though. But I think she definitely should have. I think she did. But anyways, when it was coming in, she was like, I was like, it's like, it was like, it hurt, but it was also very uncomfortable. It was like very unusual, unfamiliar feeling, something going in your bottom, right? And then she was like, I was like, oh yeah, it's like painful, it's like it hurts. And she was like, oh, it's okay, like it's almost there, right? So she put her finger and then took it out. So it was to like, I guess, to kind of to enlarge the space. I don't know why she would use the finger first, but initially, so she did that. She used her finger to put it in and then took it out, and then she now tried to put in the scope, right? So she puts in the scope, and again, it starts to feel really uncomfortable. It's a very unusual and familiar feeling that I don't want to feel. And I was like, oh, it's weird. And I was like kind of moaning and I was like grunting, right? And then she was like, oh, like, is it hurt? And I was like, yeah, it hurts. But like, I wanted her to keep going though, right? It hurts. I wanted to express that it hurts, but like keep going. But I guess she took it as like, it hurts, can you stop? So she actually takes it out, right? Even if I feel like she was almost there. So, she couldn't do it. She couldn't really scope me. So she couldn't really see the tumor inside my rectum. And then she was like, oh, I couldn't take a look at it, but I'm just giving you a warning that, your surgeon, he's not gonna be so gentle like me. I try to be as gentle as possible, and I think I really agree with it, right? I think she really tried her best, but I was such a wimp, right? That was just so hard for me to tolerate that kind of pain. And it was almost very, like, it was embarrassing, right? I wonder if actually she had anyone that couldn't do it, because in hindsight, it's not too big of a pain. I'm just so sensitive. But anyways, so she couldn't do it. And then the same week, I go see a surgeon, right? I go see the surgeon, and yeah, he has me kneel down. Again, the same position, right? So like nurses come in, and yeah, this guy, the surgeon guy, yeah, like, you know, the radiation oncologist, she was right about like that warning, how the surgeon's not gonna be so gentle like her. He freaking like just thrusts his two fingers, right? Like he just like puts it, like thrust it like so fast and so forcefully. As soon as like he puts it and he thrusts it, I was low key a little bit like screaming, right? I was like, oh, like that, right? How do you describe that reaction? Is that gasping, right? I think I was gasping. I was like, oh, right? And then he took it out. He thrust it like in a split second. It takes it out. And then that pain that's lingering there is just still there, right? I was like, oh, and then I'm like still in pain, right? Constant pain. And like my legs are shaking, and my legs are feeling really weak too. And then he puts in a scope, and interestingly, that scope did not feel like anything actually. Because this guy, the surgeon, is thrust so fast and painful. I didn't really feel anything going in. And he was like, oh, like, you did great. I'm like, did I really? But yeah, like when he actually put the scope in my rectum, it wasn't that bad. The worst part was he actually putting his two fingers in, like thrusting, right? It felt so forceful, right? But anyways, yeah, he was able to scope me, and he was like, oh, like, do you want to take a look? Look, like, look up. And I was like, no, just, I don't want to look. Like, I'm in pain. So just like, I was just trying my best to just get it over with, right? So the whole time, which lasted about like 5 minutes, the whole thing. I just had my head down and just like in pain and just moaning, and yeah, but yeah, after all, it wasn't too bad, I guess. But I'm pretty sure I'll have to do that. They have to do it again after, I think after or before surgery, after my chemo and radiation. Yeah, I'll definitely feel the apprehension, and I'll feel scared, and I'll be overwhelmed. But yeah, so that was that. How do people enjoy anal sex? You know what? That's the thought I had too. I was like, oh my god, how could actually this be enjoyable for people? Right? Even like 2 little fingers going in, like, and my rectum felt really, really painful. It just almost unbearable, right? Yeah, Rob. Yeah, I think he probably has gotten crazier reactions, right? Yeah, I thought I did bad, right? Because I was like moaning, like constantly moaning the whole time, right? Because I was like, like that, right? Yeah. What can cause rectal cancer? I asked this like my doctor, my regular oncologist, and she was saying how it could be genetic, but it could be like due to food. They don't completely understand it, but they did the genetic testing, and they didn't really find any genetic marker in my blood that could that is known to cause rectal cancer. So she was surprised. Would I ever skydiving? Skydive? No way. There's no way I would ever skydive. You could maybe, okay, if you pay me $50,000, I think I might think about it. But I feel like that's even stretching it. I'm just such a scaredy cat, right? I feel like I have a lot of fears, and I'm just highly sensitive for a guy. What T level? What is that? What is T level? Testosterone? If that's your question, I have no idea. Yeah, red meat could cause cancer, I think, but it's not completely understood, I feel like. Cancer. Is there anything cool on my bucket list? No, not really. Not anything cool or exotic. Yeah. I just want to travel to Southeast Asia, like Malaysia, Vietnam. Yeah, I just want to go there, just have some fun, like eat good food, get massage. I really like getting massage. I heard how like cheap it is over there. It's like $5 massage, $10 massage, just perfect, right? Oh, that one. I think it was T3. So I think it was involving my lymph nodes. Yeah, T3. Yeah, it was T3. That's why they want to be really aggressive with my treatment, with my chemo, radiation, and that surgery, right? Thailand, do you want those Thailand massages? Yeah, I want those Thailand massages. Like, you're talking about really hardcore massage, right? Those people like go, like they have you lay down on those massage chairs, right? And then they hold on to those bars, and then they step on your back, right? I really love those. Like acupressure type of massage, right? Like throbbing. I love those massages. I mean, I've gotten those type of massages here, right? Around the area. Those are really good, except those are really expensive. And also, on top of that, you have to pay tips, right? So last time I was able to get those type of massages was probably like a year ago, I think. And then like a couple of months ago, I started going to a chiropractor, and this guy, this masseur, he was just, oh my god, he was so good, right? He knew how to press those weak points, like pressure points, right? He was just perfect. He wasn't even putting that much pressure, but he knew how to just press on those like little very sensitive pressure points. It felt so nice, right? So I kept going back to him, right? But lately, since my diagnosis, I haven't been able to go. My chiropractor and my masseur is probably wondering why I haven't been coming back. Eddie G, hey Eddie G, I heard they give happy endings. Okay, well, I'm going to ask you, what are those happy endings you're talking about? Are you saying that like they give you really good massage that ends with really happy endings? Wow, still in the 60s viewers. Wow, thanks for tuning in, guys. I really, really appreciate it. You guys are the best. Hey, Kamsha, Chimav. Super happy endings. Super duper. Happily ever after endings. Hey, Tizio. How are you, Tizio? Oh yeah, so let's see what time. Okay, good. Intimate massage. I mean, if you think about it though, they have you lay down usually either like topless, right? Sometimes they just have you wear underwear, right? And then they cover you with a towel. So it's already pretty intimate, no? Oh, you don't like hot rocks, Rob? I love those hot rocks. I mean, like initially, if it's like too hot, I guess it's like too hot, right? So it's uncomfortable because it burns on your skin. But then after that little initial phase of the stones being too hot, it's over. It feels really, really nice, no? I really love those hot stone massage. Will I ever record a video or a stream not in my car? I don't think so, Justin. My car is my safe space. No one can bother me, no one can come in. I don't know, it just feels so comfortable in my car. It feels also, it's weird, but it feels scenic too, right? Is that the right word? Scenic? Like the ambience, right? I really like this vibe or the ambience. Like sitting in my car late at night, it's all dark around, and then I have just little lighting over here, and it just feels very peaceful and calm and serene and just all the positive emotions, I guess. Traveling, streaming to Thailand, I don't think I'll ever be able to do a live stream, while I'm in public, right? Like I said, the only reason I feel like I can actually do YouTube is because I'm in my private space, right? If I were to go out in public and record myself or live stream myself, I don't know. I think might feel too self-conscious just walking around, and probably they're going to look at me while I'm vlogging or live streaming, and I'll probably I'll have to talk casually talk like I'm doing right now while I'm walking around, right, and the city, and just I don't know. It just seems too daunting. It's going to be a challenge for sure, right? But it's definitely not something I would want to do, right? I mean, for me, even going to parties or going to group gathering, it's pretty daunting too. For example, today my company had a little what do you call it, potluck lunch, right? So people came and they had lunch together. They brought their food, and I was really nervous to go, so I actually skipped out the lunch, and I went there. I still went, but I went around the time when the lunch was over, so that I didn't really have to run into that many people, right? Not that I hate them or anything. They're really friendly. They're really, really nice. But it's just when it's like group of people, like there are a lot of people I don't know from the company, right? I only know the people from my team. So if it's just more intimate, more small group, then I don't mind. But then if it's like the whole company dinner or whatever event, that's when it's really hard for me to like go and just be around other people. It just feels too much for me, right? And it feels almost weird for me to say this though, right? Because I'm 39, almost 40, and I'm a full adult, right? And I'm actually old now, or semi-old, and like, why am I still dealing with all these, I guess, anxiety or like these type of issues, right? Like being shy around people. But it's just the way, like, I used to struggle a lot, I guess, just trying to I guess fix myself, right? Because I hated how shy I am, how introverted I am, how I'm so self-conscious around people, and how awkward I am around people. And I shared this in my another video. Like, I kind of try to fake my personality, right? So I try to play this persona of trying to look like I'm this really outgoing person, and I'm not afraid of interacting with people, talking to people. And I think I was able to fake it, but I was never really able to completely, truly transform who I am inside, right? And that's when I realized, oh, like, this is who I am. Maybe it's time for me to accept myself as the way I am, right? And once I actually was able to accept for who I am, accept myself for who I am, I think that's when I actually start to feel better about myself, right? And it doesn't feel too bad now that I cannot, or I don't prefer to attend, those big group gatherings anymore. It's just who I am, it's just the way it is. And I mean, it doesn't mean that I'll completely just not go out or not interact with other people or attend those type of like company events. I still do, right? But the feeling wise, right, emotion wise, when I feel overwhelmed, I just let myself move through those type of emotions, right? I just try to remind myself, oh, like, this is just how my brain is wired, right? And just gotta accept myself the way I am. And that's actually when I accepted myself for the way I am, that's when I actually start to feel better about myself. And that's when I actually started to stop trying so hard to look like this outgoing person, extroverted person, trying so hard to play this completely different persona, right? I feel more authentic now, right? I let other people know that I'm shy, that I'm introverted, and these type of events just they're too overwhelming for me, right? I let other people know. I don't try so hard to hide it. I mean, I don't really go out there and like announce to the whole world, hey, like, this is who I am. But I just casually just sometimes just talk about it, right? So, hey, Arotu, good night. Sweet dreams. Thanks for tuning in. All right. Hey, the Walla Mala. You put, let's see, Kenji, you gotta put yourself in uncomfortable situations to get more comfortable being in those uncomfortable situations. Yeah, I agree with you. So sometimes, yeah, I do that from time to time. But I feel like, yeah, by default, it's just always wanting to be avoiding those situations, right? Kenji BBA degree or an economics degree? What is that? What is BBA? Business? Is that business administration? Economics? Sean, I majored in cognitive science. So it's cognitive science is like psychology degree. Yeah. That's what I majored in. Wow, still 57 people. Crazy. Crazy. A lot of people tuning in still on a Wednesday night. Wow. Tizio, by the way, I think you have one of the nicest community on YouTube. Right? I agree with you, Tizio. I don't know why people are so nice. But yeah, I think I feel really blessed and lucky to have such a supportive community. They're really nice and they're really like encouraging, right? Which I really appreciate. So yeah, thank you. Kenji, can you please describe the tea you are drinking, please? Okay, this one. So I usually drink matcha green tea in the morning, but at night, sometimes I drink this ginger tea. So this one is ginger tea with mushroom powder. So I mix ginger powder with mushroom powder with water. Yeah. My favorite type of alcohol is beer, IPAs. I used to love IPAs also. I used to love Budweiser for some reason. I really loved Budweiser. Also, I like red wine. That was another my favorite. Also, Hasake, right? So I think also Korean rice wine. I never really liked hard liquor like such as vodka, whiskey. Whiskey is just so gross. So gross. Vodka is so gross too. So I think I hated all the hard liquor. So I hated. Also, I hated the soju. Right, soju is like Korean version of vodka. But yeah, anything like that's light, I think I liked it. Yeah. Red Bull gives you willings. You know, Red Bull, those are too strong. Too much caffeine for me, I think. One time I was trying to pull an all-nighter right before an exam because I didn't study and I had to cram. And I took one can of Red Bull and I still felt like it wasn't enough, right? So I actually took another one, another Red Bull, and then like maybe 20 minutes later, half an hour later, my heart starts pounding like crazy, and I start to feel really anxious, right? And like really panicky, right? So I actually could not study at all because I was getting too nervous. So since then, I never drink a Red Bull. Yeah. Job market in California, I think it's still okay. Yeah. Some dude died of drinking Red Bull. I think I saw that too. Yeah, I don't think my heart could handle Red Bull. Yeah. Wow, still 55 people watching. Thank you, everyone. right? Toshiki, hey Sierra, good to see you. Toshiki Kadomatsu, can you actually Sierra, do you mind leaving in my comment? Yeah, I can't play it right now. And last time, actually, remember during my last live stream, I was playing some of those songs recommended in the chat. My my live stream got flagged for copyright violation because I was playing like a couple of songs during my live stream, right? And I didn't even play the whole song. Maybe I think I played for like 15 seconds, 20 seconds, and oh yeah, it got flagged. So I had to edit out those parts where I was playing those songs. Yeah. Wow, okay. Oh, you're in Italy, Tizio? Oh, wow. That's cool. Wow, so you're listening to my live stream while preparing breakfast. Cool. Yeah. I mean, whatever floats your boat, right? You know, it's funny because I think I saw some comments about saying how they play play my videos whenever they are about to go to bed. They say how my video is like lullaby. They just fall asleep. So that means it's either really, really boring, right? Or maybe it's relaxing. I hope it's the second, right? It's the latter. It's my voice, Moonlight. Oh, Moonlight Antonio. Good to see you again. Yeah. Do you think that my voice is relaxing? I think it's actually a pretty annoying voice. My guy friends always made fun of me how my voice is this really annoying type of voice. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Moonlight Antonio. That's really nice of you to see that. See, I think this community is too nice again. Good to see you too, Antonio. Hey, Ollie Tails. Good to see you. Hey, No Name. Good to see you. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Sierra. Thank you. Wow, still 55 people watching. Wow. So I think a lot of people probably just have watching my live stream just as a background, right? Just listen to it. Do I have 6-packs? Oh no. I wish I did. But there was a time when I did, actually, in my early 20s. I used to work out a lot, but also I was very skinny too, so yeah, it really helped me being skinny then. Meet and greet with the fans? Oh my gosh, that's gonna be scary. Yes, I don't know. I mean, I would love to though. I like to, just that, it's gonna be like I'm gonna need a lot of courage for me to be able to do that. What if no one shows up though? Like, let's say we schedule, right, a date and a time and a place, and then actually I'm the only one that shows up. Oh wow, you're playing TFT and listening to my live stream. Oh wow, cool. Yeah, for sure. I think Golden Pine, it could be an introverted meet and greet where nobody can talk to each other. This reminds me of the time, one time, um, this was in my 20s, late 20s. I went to this meetup group, right? Meetup group event. And that meetup group was actually, the name of the meetup group was Social Anxiety Group. So it was basically a bunch of people, right, with social anxiety meeting up. And it wasn't really too bad though, right? It wasn't too bad. And, funnily, just that even with around people with social anxiety, I felt like I was one of the worst, right? It was very, very hard. I was so awkward. Yeah. No, I'm really super introverted. It seems like I dated a lot and I have friends. No, I didn't really date a lot, and I do have friends, but I have three friends, I think. Three friends. Two or three. I think three friends. Yeah. I don't have that many friends. Sounds like interesting group. Yeah, it was definitely an interesting group. Also, it was interesting because it was mostly guys. I think there was a few girls, but I think it was like 90% guys and 10% girls. Yeah. I guess guys, maybe there are more guys out there that may struggle with social anxiety. Guys bottle up emotions. Yeah, I think that's true too, right? It's this our society expectations, the norms. We usually don't express our emotions. We hold them in. We suppress them. A lot of times when like guys, we feel really ashamed of like our emotions when we feel weak. I mean, there's a phrase like "man up," right? Man up. This is interesting because when I I grew up in Korea most of my childhood. I grew up in Korea, and I clearly remember, like during elementary school and kindergarten, whenever like boys cried, teachers tell us that like stop crying and act like a boy. That's act like a man. That's what they said, right? Stop crying. You're a boy. Boys don't cry. So like that's the message I just heard. We little boys, since very like a little kid, just heard repeatedly over and over, right? So yeah, whether it was mostly female teachers, but male teacher or female, it doesn't matter. They always, like, whenever boys cry, like they would tell us, stop crying, boys shouldn't cry, right? Like that, right? Man up, don't be a wussy, right? It's not a big deal, don't be so weak, right? Like those are the messages we always heard. So I think we start to, at least I start to internalize that message, and I thought that showing our emotions is a sign of weakness, right? Especially when you when you cry, because when you cry, it's like it's usually you cry because you're sad, or maybe angered, but usually when you're sad, right? So I think I internalized that message that, oh, you're not, as a boy, you're not supposed to show your sadness, right? You're not supposed to let others see your sadness, right? which is really, I think, like in hindsight, I think it's really fucked up though, right? Yeah. Height plays a huge factor in dating. Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, but I don't think it's exclusive to dating, right? When you apply for a job, when you make friends, I don't know. It's not height though, right? It's lookism, right? Your physical appearance. It plays a role everywhere, pretty much. You are judged on your appearance, right? Everywhere you go. So, I mean, if you're good looking, if you're an attractive person, it's definitely a plus. It can be definitely a plus in a lot of situations. People view you a lot more favorably if you are either handsome or pretty, right? I feel like sometimes when you say something or when you share your idea, people tend to take you more seriously, probably, right? Like the exact same message, two people may say, but if one person is like good looking and I don't know, the other person is unattractive, the exact same message can be viewed and taken very differently, right? So, and it's, you may call it like people are shallow and whatnot, but I feel like it's just the way it is. It's just how our brain's wired, right? I think it's just how our brain have evolved over time to just be, I guess, attracted to things that are more physically attractive. I mean, even when you choose, I don't know, to buy a car or pets, right? Or flowers, anything you buy, clothing, right? Anything you buy. What is the first thing you notice? The first thing you notice is how it looks, right? The outside, the design of a car, right? What the pet looks like, right? So, yeah, like what's on the outside is the very first thing you notice. And often I feel like that's what I think can influence your decision the most sometimes, right? So, I mean, like, yeah, when you go out there to shop for a car, what is, for a lot of people, I mean, not everyone, but for a lot of people, the one thing that is most important is like, does it look nice, right? Do I like its design? No one wants to usually drive a car that's ugly, right? I mean, being ugly or being cool or looking cool, like the car design, it's certainly subjective, but also there is more generally accepted subjectivity too, right? A lot of like people think that Ferrari or Lamborghini or Porsche, they look nicer, right? They look more like sleek, right? So I mean, it sucks though, right? Because I mean, let's say like people, like, let's say physical appearance for people, right? I didn't even choose to born into this body, right? I'm 5'6", and I didn't really choose to be born into this short height as a male, right? But I gotta deal with all the potential disadvantages that may come my way for being short, right? For example, in the dating market, being 5'6" is not something you are gonna appeal to the majority of the crowd or the female market, right? It's just the way it is though, right? But certainly there's more that there are traits that are more favorable for either man or female, right? So usually, yeah, females, they prefer tall guys as opposed to short guys, right? Also, maybe facial symmetry might be one. Also, like that V taper body, right? Things like that. And also maybe like full of hair. Usually guys that have full of hair, it's more favorable than guys with no hair. I mean, again, there is niche market for everyone, I think, even for guys with no hair or little hair. But it's just that generally, I think there is certain trait that are deemed as more favorable, right? Also skin too, right? Like smooth skin with no blemishes is considered more attractive than skin with a lot of blemishes, right? A lot of pimple face, I don't know, volcano face, right? So yeah, there was a time I started taking cause my doctor recommended that I start taking vitamin D because my vitamin D level was very low. This was many years ago. So I started taking like 10,000 IU vitamin D my doctor prescribed for me. And I start to have all these like skin problems, like cystic acne around my chin, right? But I never knew what it was, like why I started to have all these cystic acne, because I never really had to deal with cystic acne before. And I don't know, I couldn't really make sense of it because never thought that it could be vitamin D, but I think that's what it was, because as soon as I started taking vitamin D, that's when I started to have all these skin problems. But when I had like all this skin acne, it was pretty bad. It was like my whole chin area right here, like at my neck area, was filled with all these like hard, like very deep cystic acnes, and they were painful, and like I try to pop them and it never goes away. You can't really completely pop them, and I didn't like that, right? And I'm pretty sure that cystic acne didn't really seem that appealing to a lot of people, right? So but it is what it is. I don't know if you guys have watched that movie. What is that movie? I forget the title of it. But I think Mark Wahlberg is that his name? I think he was in it. Yeah, he is in it, but I don't know if that's his name. The movie is about this professor, like, is addicted to gambling, and he comes from a very rich family, right? This English professor, and he pretty much blows away, or continues to blow away his parents' money, right? Millions of dollars. And in this scene, he talks about Shakespeare and his work, and he was saying how Shakespeare's, I may be remembering incorrectly, but like he was saying how Shakespeare's work was about rage, right? Like rage. And what is that rage? He was saying how that rage was about this arbitrary distribution of talent, right? It was the rage against this nature, right? This arbitrary selection and distribution of talent across the species, right? So basically, when you look at human species, right? When you look across the people, some people are born tall, some people are born short, some people are born with maybe more muscular body, right? Some people are born into rich families. Some people are born with really good looking face. Some people are born unattractive. Some people are born with genetic disorders, autoimmune disease, right? Some people are born really, really healthy. And you may be asking, what did these people that are born with such a blessed trait do to deserve those blessed traits, right? Also intelligence too, right? Some people are born with high intelligence, like guys like Mark Zuckerberg, maybe Elon Musk, Einstein. Those people, their work is quite admirable, and I'm not trying to discredit their work or anything, but their hard work, right? I'm 100% they worked hard, but their hard work is not the only factor that actually made it possible for them to have such success, right? They were born smart. They were born with intelligence too, right? So they really pretty much hit that genetic lottery, right? Bill Gates, these people, they're really, really smart. Then I don't know if you guys have heard of this math wizard. His name is Terrence Tao. He's the youngest professor at UCLA, right? And I think when he was 3 or 5, he was able to solve calculus problems, right? I mean, 5-year-old, it's hard for you to say that, it's because this 5-year-old kid put in so much work. That's why he was able to achieve such high success or math expertise at such a young age, right? No, that's not what happens, right? No matter what kind of effort or work you put in as a 5-year-old, you're not going to be able to achieve that level of expertise at a subject like math. He was pretty much born with really, really smart brain, right? But anyways, that rage, right? There's that unfairness factor, no? The unfair aspect of how, why, how is it that I am born into this short height, right? What did I do to deserve this short height? When I go to gym or when I go pretty much everywhere, I'm usually the shortest guy in the room, right? I mean, I'm pretty used to it, but just because it's something I'm used to doesn't mean that I don't wish I would had, maybe I was born into taller height, right? I mean, there's always this wish in the back of my mind, no matter how futile it may be, it's always in the back of my mind that wishing that I was taller, maybe a couple inches, right? Maybe 5'9", 5'8". The thing is that 5'6" is not even average, right? So I think so that movie talks about this rage against random distribution of talent. Yeah, because when you look at it, when you try to look at it from a moral standpoint, definitely the only conclusion you can conclude is that like life is unfair, right? I guess some people don't. It's easier for some people to accept that the fact that life is unfair, right? Than some other people. I think for me, I think I'm coming to terms with it. But yeah, it's been very hard for me to accept that fact, right? I mean, I still struggle with it a lot of times. I still grapple with it, right? But then, also the thing is that when you like start to have that mindset about what's fair and what's not fair, the very first, I guess, it's very easy to fall into that mindset of that you are a victim in this life. And I think growing up, I definitely experienced that and definitely went through that mindset too, that I was the ultimate and perpetual victim in this life, because I felt like I was put into this very disadvantageous body, right, as a male, 5'6". Also, I'm not muscular. Like I have very like skinny bones too, right? Like I don't know if you can see it, but so I think that's where I struggle a lot too. But lately I start to refute that belief, because I'm not really an ultimate and perpetual victim of this life, though. Just because I was born into like less attractive, with a less attractive face and short height, doesn't mean I myself, like, it doesn't really mean that I'm a victim, right? Because there are other areas that I definitely am blessed with, right? That I don't really deserve to be given, but I was given, right? For example, living in America, right? Being able to immigrate to America from Korea, that's kind of like hitting a lotto too, right? There are a lot of people out there that would 100% trade my life with theirs, right? So what did I even deserve to move to America and be given all these opportunities to, right? Like, it wasn't something I deserved, but I was still given, right? So considering that, I mean, am I still a victim in this life? I don't think that's true, right? But I think it's that skewed, very biased and distorted perception of myself, and also hyper fixation on one thing I lack, right, such as height and physical appearance, that make me feel like I am the ultimate victim, even if that's not objectively true, right? Also, like, what about my caring family, right? What did I do to deserve such a caring family, right? Some people, they are born into a very abusive family, or sometimes they don't even have a mom or dad. As soon as they're born, they are sent to orphanage, right? Yeah, orphanage, or they grow up in the foster homes, and they never get to see their mom or dad in their life, a day of their life, right? So what did they do to deserve that, right? And what did I do to deserve to be able to, grow up with my family, right? So there are just so many arbitrary factors and random factors in life, and if you just try to look at a life from a very moral standpoint of trying to use like certain metric as the I don't know, as a standard to measure whether or not, or how blessed you may be, or how lucky you are. I don't know. Just I think it's just not a healthy way to look at our life, right? But when you do, I mean, I feel like the only pitfall you're gonna fall into, or the trap, is that, like, yeah, you're going to come to conclusion that life is or that you are the victim in this life. And what do you do when you are when you see yourself as the ultimate victim in this life? I feel like you only have two choices: either kill yourself or kill another person or kill other people. Take it out on the world, right? It's like this mindset. Okay, like, I'm the victim. I did not do to I I didn't do anything to deserve to be a victim, right? And how is it fair for other people to have something I don't have? It's not fair. So I must take it away from them. That's the only way I can actually make it fair for everyone, right? So I think you're just bound to be really, really cynical and just nihilistic, right? When you fall into that kind of mindset. So I think that's where you really, really have to be careful, right? I feel like that's the only path people actually go to, like, when you start to believe that you are the ultimate victim in this life, right? I mean, I can't really understand why they would have such mindset, but at the same time, I think it's really necessary for us to have a more balanced lens to look at our life, right? I hope that makes sense. Bobby, everyone got their own potential, and if you achieve that, I think you can find satisfaction. Yeah, I think I don't know though. Like, I don't know if you can make such a blank assumption, or because I think there are people that are truly really disadvantaged, right? But yeah, I don't know. But it's just that, like, no matter how little you're given, if you fall into that victim mindset, it's a very dark place you're gonna end up in, right? So, yeah, I think you just should know, or you should try your best to really understand your capacity and your limits. For me personally, I think the very reason why I struggle also so much in my 20s is because I never truly understood my capacity and my limits. I really believe that, or I was told to believe that life is limitless. It's all about what you make out of it, and you can't achieve anything you want. There's no such thing as intelligence. You just gotta put in the work. Just hard work is all you need, right? That's what I believed, and that kind of work ethic actually was what helped me to be, or to get into one of the top schools, right? But then that kind of same belief didn't certainly start to shatter, right? When I was still putting in as much effort as I did in high school and college, but I still start to fall behind. And I never really, at that time, I never really understood why I was struggling so much in school, even if I was putting in so much effort, right? I was just working just as hard. So I was like pre-med initially, and all these um, science classes I was taking, like biology, chemistry, organic chemistry. I struggled in every single of them, right? Every single class, but I was just putting as much effort. But I was always wondering, like, why am I struggling so much? Why is it so hard? And I was going to tutoring, and I was asking like friends for help. I was going to office hours, but I could not get an A. The best I could do was actually a B, right? Most of the time. But then there were some other kids that like didn't struggle as much as I did, and there were actually, yeah, like few kids that actually they just like they just absorb the material like a sponge, right? It was just so mind blowing, right? To see some of these kids that are truly, truly talented. And that's when I realized, or I think I didn't realize this back then though. Like when I saw those kids that were really, really smart and intelligent, I think I was still in denial back then. I was thinking, oh, maybe they, I don't know, they got a head start. They maybe went to different school that gave them a much better education, maybe. But no, actually, like in hindsight, they were truly smarter than me, right? Their brain was wired differently. The way they learned, the way they memorized stuff, the way they understood the material was just different, right? So these kids that are really smart. I mean, of course, there were kids that were truly putting a lot of effort too, but also there were a lot of kids that were just genuinely just very smart, right? So yeah, those are the ones that got accepted to a medical school and yeah, just but I couldn't do it. I couldn't do what they could do. But yeah, man, I was so in denial though. Like I just kept telling myself back then that, oh, like there's no such thing as intelligence. Intelligence is such an arbitrary concept. We all are smart if we know how to, put utilize what we have. But no, I think there is such thing as intelligence. There is. I mean, like, when you look at sports, right? Like when you look at sports stars, soccer players or football players, basketball players. I mean, there's no doubt that all these players that are playing professionally, they put in a lot of effort. But to say that there's no difference between maybe me and LeBron James, it's like it's like denying the reality, right? So yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely a difference in talent, difference in intelligence, just like there's difference in physical appearances, right? So I know that like this may not be, I don't know, the most I mean, I don't know, because when I was in my 20s, I really hated the idea of intelligence or IQ tests, right? I thought that was all bogus. That was all fake, right? I used to believe that like if you can train anyone to do anything, but no, I don't think that's my personal belief anymore. We're all different, So Hey Tizio, where do you see yourself in 10 years? Well, hopefully I'll survive this cancer. And if I do, in 10 years, hopefully I don't know. Yeah, I actually don't know where I see myself in 10 years. But right now, I think the goals I set for myself is to grow this channel, right? As big as I can. My next goal is to grow it to 10,000 subscribers. I don't know if it's achievable, but that's my goal. Even like my channel recently went over 4,000 subscribers, right? Which was definitely a huge success for me personally. So I'm already pretty content with what I have achieved. But if I can set the next goal for my YouTube channel, definitely 10,000 subscribers. I think that would be really, really nice. I just want to grow the community. I just want to continue to share my thoughts and just, I guess, share content that people can find relatable, right? And also, let people know that person like me exists out there, I guess. I know that some of my beliefs are not, may not be mainstream, right? And when you go on YouTube and you watch a lot of channels, a lot of YouTubers, I noticed that a lot of them are pretty like extroverted, and I don't know, it's hard for me to relate to a lot of YouTubers, and a lot of the channels, I don't know, sometimes I feel like maybe I can find my own niche, right? I feel like there is definitely need and want for a channel like mine, right? For a YouTuber like myself, right? So that's just my hope. That's just my hope. So oh, right. I am indeed to speaking 50 people right now. I feel like I could never see myself doing that either, right? Until I actually gave it a try. This channel, when I started it was more like an experiment, right? I never really had a certain goal or anything out. It was more like, okay, like I want to put myself out there, partly because I just wanted to step out of my comfort zone, also because I just wanted to I just had a very deep burning desire to share my thoughts, share my beliefs, and just what others like have to say, right? Maybe like find people that find my ideas relatable, right? I just wanted to see, right? So it was like an experiment just to see like what could happen, right? So I never really had an agenda, right? And yeah, it just happened, right? I never really envisioned for my channel to grow as fast as it did, and 4,000 subscribers, it's just still surreal, you know? It's just how is it possible that a person like me who's not, I don't know, who's not good looking, I'm not even a native speaker, right? A lot of times I struggle with speaking, and a lot of times I try to find the right word, right, when I try to describe or articulate things, and it's still very challenging, right? So I'm not a very articulate person. It takes like when I think you would notice you see how when I speak I'm quite slow, and also I pause a lot. My youngest sister, she always points out how slow I am when I speak English, and I also do use a lot of fillers, right? She always points that out, and yeah, it's because it takes time for me to I guess think up the words I want to use when I try to articulate my ideas, right? So yeah, it's hard. It's not easy for me to try to form a sentence, form a full sentence, right? So it definitely doesn't feel natural for me to speak just English in general, right? So this thing I'm doing right now, just creating videos, and lately I've been doing some live streaming too. Like this is kind of like experiments too. When I first started my channel, I didn't really do that many live stream because I was very nervous, and yeah, it was just very challenging for me. A lot of people were asking for more live stream, and I was said, "Oh yeah, I will try," right? But I never really followed through, right? Because it was so hard for me to muster up that courage to do a live stream. And even when I record myself, it's so cringy. Sometimes still, it still does not feel. It does not come naturally, right? So when I try to press that record button on my phone, it's like I could feel that tingling anxiety, right, in the bottom of my heart. So nothing, like what I'm trying to say is that nothing that's happening right now, all these things that's happening right now, it's never been planned or imagined even. I never had it in my agenda. I did not have an agenda. I was like, oh, like people are doing YouTube, I want to do a YouTube too, right? So why don't I try? Maybe that was my agenda. Why don't I try, right? So trying was my agenda. I just want to try. I just want to see where this takes me, right? So yeah, I hope that explains, answers your question. Yeah, thank you, Rob. I think it's mostly. I feel like I'm speaking like I have like a million subscriber channel or something, but I mean, for me, this feels like a million subscriber channel because, like I said, I just maybe small goal I might have had was going for maybe like 100 or even like 50 subscribers. That was like my goal, right? So for me to have achieved like 4,000 subscribers, it really, to me, it feels like million subscribers. Because even 1,000, so I don't know if you guys are familiar, but in order for you to be able to monetize your content, you need 1,000 subscribers, I believe. Yeah, 1,000 subscribers. So that's like the cutoff, right? Threshold for you to be able to start monetizing your videos. And I'm already past that point, and I looked up on Google how many people, or how long it takes for people who are starting YouTube to get 2,000 subscribers, and I was seeing how the average is like 2.5 years or 1.5 years, something like that. So more than a year, right? So I mean, yeah, for me to have achieved 4,000 subscribers, it's already a huge success. And I don't mean to brag or anything. I think it's mostly just pure luck, right? I just feel very, very lucky, like, to have even achieved this number of subscribers. So let's see. The Walla Mala, but you right, trying is better than not trying. Yeah, I mean, I think, again, this goes back to my innate personality. So growing up, I'm just someone who actually doesn't try. I always naturally opt for not trying. That's my default, right? And the thing is that I logically know that, completely understand that trying is usually better than not trying, right? There's a saying how, what is that? You never, there's a 0 chance you're gonna succeed at a shot you never try, something like along those lines, right? So I mean, logically, I completely understand that probably trying is better than not trying, but emotionally it's just so overwhelming when you try something new. So in my life, I think I've always opted for not trying instead of trying. So I mean, I still have that tendency, right? Like I said, I don't think we no matter what we do, I don't think we skew too much away from like how we're wired, right? So I still have that tendency to not want to try something new. It feels quite daunting and overwhelming every time I try to do something new. But I don't know, with YouTube, I don't know what came across me, but I just happened to try. Yeah. And I think you probably saw my first few videos, but I think the very first one, I am wearing a mask, right, in my car. So yeah, I mean, see, like that first video when I recorded myself, I was so nervous about fully disclosing, like showing my face, right? Um, so that's why I covered my half my face with a mask, even if like no one wears a mask anymore, right? COVID is like um, it's not as common as back then, right? But yeah, I just completely used that mask to cover half my face. And then I think the second, third video, I completely cut out my face, right? So for me to go from like, half my face covered and also my whole face completely cut out to now fully showing my face, it's just, such a huge progress on my end, right? But then again, I feel like I still feel pretty self-conscious showing my face, right? So also, yeah, that's why I record at night, because you can't, like in my car, it's so dark. It's hard for you to see my face fully, right? And also, like, the reason why I use lighting is because usually I feel ugly or unattractive, right? But I guess I realized when I use this lighting, tend to look better. My skin tends to look like more clear, so that's why I do that, right? So I guess it gives me a little bit of more confidence, I guess, about my appearance, right? So it helps. It helps. So that's why I usually don't record my videos in the daytime. I feel more exposed. I think that's an accurate way to describe it. And when I am in the dark in my car, I feel less exposed. If that makes sense. Alright, well, 46 people still. Oh my gosh, that's a lot of people still. Danny Kenji, I respect people who show their faces than people who hide behind the computer. At least I guess right now I'm not hiding behind my computer, right? Maybe I'm hiding behind my car and the light, right? Or hiding behind the darkness. Dennis too, hey, good to see you, Dennis. It can't be that different, right? No, I think it could be that different, Dennis. Don't be fooled. The Walla Mala, depression is in the head. I've heard stories of people using shrooms claiming it killed their depression instantly. Yeah, I think there's a lot of studies that has done the studying on people with depression or addiction, that that they have these people try I think DMT or psilocybin mushrooms, right? And the results are actually quite astounding, right? How people with long history of addiction, right, alcohol, especially alcohol addiction, they have over 10 or 20 years of addiction, and then after a single or two tries of mushroom, they are completely off alcohol, which is quite mind-blowing, right? But yeah, I've seen those studies, and I think the study was saying how you need these people, they have, what is that experience called, that's like surreal, but there's a word where I can't think of that word though. What is that word I'm looking for? that's like, yeah, out of body, but there's a word for it. It means kind of like extraordinary, but like out of this world. It's like, yeah. But they have to have that kind of experience. You know what? Let me look it up. I think mystical was the word I was looking for. Yeah. So people, when they have these mystical experiences, that's when something happens in their brain that completely, maybe semi-permanently or permanently change or rewires their brain. And they say that like how they start to they stop having that urge, right? They start to they don't have that cravings anymore, which is just, I think it's just mind-blowing, right? How could someone with more than 10 years or 20 years of addiction just suddenly start to not have cravings for whatever they're addicted to, right? You know, in my personal example, I was addicted to gambling, right? I started playing poker, Texas Hold'em specifically, since I was 21, and I was addicted to that game until I was like 35, 33. And I blew away like a ton of money. And I tried so hard to quit, to stop, but it just was nearly impossible for me to stop because I just constantly had that craving, right? That urge. It was like that itch, right? That just it wasn't so simple as just stop gambling. It just, addiction doesn't work like that, right? And that's all I ever thought about, right? When I was gambling. At one time so like there was a point in my life when I was working at an SAT prep as an SAT instructor, right? And one time I was supposed to go to work, right? It was around 4:00, and that's when, I start teaching my classes. That's when the students start coming in, and I was, what I was doing? Instead of like going to work, I was at a local casino and playing poker, right? And I was betting on like thousands of dollars, right? And then I couldn't stop because I was losing, right? But I think if I was winning, I might have been easier. But either way, it's just very hard to stop. But anyways, I was losing like a lot of money, and I was on tilt. So like when they say you're on tilt, that means you are losing your cool. When someone is like playing poker or gambling, and then when you say like when they're on tilt, it means they are losing their cool, right? So yeah, I was losing my cool. I was on tilt because I was losing a lot of money, right? So I wanted to win it back, and I knew it was time for me to go to work, but I couldn't get out of my seat, right? It was almost like my butt was glued to the chair. I could not get up. So it was like 4:15, so my class was supposed to start at like, let's say like at 4, right? It was around 4:15. I get a call from my boss. I just ignore it, and then it just keeps ringing, right? And then I finally answer, and then my boss was like, "Oh, hey, Kenji teacher, where are you?" Right? Like, you're supposed to be here. Your students are waiting for you. And then I completely lied, right? Just with a straight face. "Oh, sorry. I didn't know I had a class today." Because, like I was working part-time, and so there were some days I I didn't have class. I didn't have class every day, right? So there were some days I was off. So yeah, I just completely lied to my boss saying, oh, like I forgot, right? I didn't forget. I was just playing poker. I was just addicted to gambling, right? But just going back to that psilocybin or mushroom, like it's just so mind blowing how people like me, people like I'm an addict, right? Once an addict, I think it's forever an addict. But yeah, like people like me could actually stop having that cravings. For me, it would be stop having that cravings to go to casino and start gambling, right? It's hard to believe, but the study shows that it makes it happen. So I think that would be really nice, so I have been bet free since I was 34, 35, I think. So 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah, I think. And I no longer get those urges or cravings to go gamble. But that does not mean that, my gambling addiction is somehow cured or I have completely recovered. It's always lurking. I know that's always lurking in the back of my mind or back of my head, that craving or that impulse. It's always gonna be there. I know it's there, right? And when I'm at the weakest point in my life, it's going to creep back up, and it's going to whisper in my ear, oh, one game, one bet shouldn't be too bad. You're feeling bad, you're stressed out, just one bet, that's it. And that's how people, addicts, gambling addicts or whatever addicts it may be, that's how they relapse, right? Fall back into those the old habits or old addiction. And a lot of people that have struggled with addiction and then now they are on sobriety, right? They often relapse when they start to get comfortable with themselves. They start to believe that they are finally healed or cured or recovered, right? That's when I think they start to relapse again, because they get comfortable, right? They think they have no issue anymore. But I think once you have experienced that high that you used to get from alcohol addiction or drug addiction, gambling addiction, it's always gonna be there, because you have experienced that high. You know what it feels like, right? So it will feel good. You know for sure, right? All you're doing is just lying to yourself that you're cured, but you're never cured. Once you have experienced that experience, it's always going to be there. And this happened to me too, right? There was, before my 4 years sobriety, before that one, how I relapsed was when I was already sober for about, do you say sober or clean? Is that the right word for gambling addiction? I was bat free for about 2 years, over 2 years. And when I was bat free for 2 years, I didn't have urges or cravings back then, right? So I thought to myself that, I must have recovered, right? I must have recovered. I deluded myself into believing that I was now okay, right? So now all of a sudden I start to tell myself that, it's okay to go to a casino with my friends. I'm not gonna gamble. I'm just gonna watch my friends gamble, but I'm not gonna be the one gambling. I'm over it, right? I've been through addiction, and I've been now I've been free for the last 2 years, so I know I'm not gonna gamble. I've been free from gambling for the last 2 years, so why would I go gamble again, right? So ironically, yeah, I was the one that actually, it was during Christmas time, right? So I was lonely. I obviously did not have a girlfriend. I was lonely. I think I came. So I went to that's when I went back to Berkeley, and I came back down. From NorCal to SoCal, right? I came back down to SoCal, and I pretty much like called on my friends, right? Like at night during the end of the year, Christmas week. I called them up, and I was like, hey guys, like, why don't we go to casino? Like, why don't we go to casino to eat? Because it was like really late at night. I think it was around 12 or 11. So yeah, we were like, oh, why don't we go to casino to eat? They have some good food. They really do though. They have some good food. I treat you guys, right? And yeah, during that moment, I think what I was telling myself is that, oh, I'm just gonna go there and just eat and just leave. Right? Oh boy, I was so that wrong, right? So when we went there, yeah, we ate, we had some pho, and the food was good. And then immediately I get this really, really strong impulse, right? The urge, right? It's like, it almost like, it felt like a pending, is that impending doom, right? I feel this like really strong urge all of a sudden, right? Like this kick, and I felt it in my chest or in my belly, right? Like that really strong. It's hard to describe. It's really strong, deep desire, the urge, the craving that just awakes all of a sudden, right? I didn't know it was there. And now I think back, I think it's been just sitting there, right? Just quietly and silently, right? And also, I think it was tricking me, right, into thinking that I was over gambling. But I think it was just sitting there silently, pretending as if it was gone. But I think it was just waiting for that perfect moment to I guess, be awakened, right? And I was like telling my friends, "Oh, are you guys gonna gamble?" And like one of my friends, like none of them actually, they don't really gamble, but even if they do, like they just play for fun. They never were addicted. None of them, right? But like one of my friends was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna go play." I think it was blackjack. Yeah, blackjack, right, or baccarat. And I was like, okay. I'm just gonna watch you guys play, right? That's all that's what I said. So we find one table, and we just go there, and he takes some cash out from an ATM. I think he took out like maybe $100, right? Not too much, I guess. And it's like playing this, just minimum limit. I think it was like $5 or $10. So it was just small amount, right? And yeah, we're just like standing there. I'm just standing behind him, and it's like winning some, losing some. It's like for the next 30 minutes, like even, right? And then I start to get bored, and then I tell my friends, oh, I'm just gonna like take some cash out. I'm just gonna play for a little bit, right? And even that moment, I really believe that I'm going to play for a little bit, right? So again, this is another excuse slash belief, like self-deluded belief, right? Like we addicts do, right? How it's like we tell ourselves, oh, this is our last bet, this is our last drink, right? This is our last, I don't know, the last puff, right? If you're smoking pot or whatever, cocaine. Yeah, we really truly believe, or we try to believe that it is really true that it's going to be our last, but we all know it's not true. But it's that in that moment, I think it's the self justification and rationalization to kind of, I guess, excuse our behavior, right? But anyways, I go to walk up to the ATM. I think I took out. I only have. I remember. I think I only had $3,000 or $5,000. When I say only, because that was actually my living expenses, right, for the semester or for the next semester. That's like two still loans I took out, right? So it was like it was for my food, for my rent, it was for my school, right? So it was the money that was kept there so I could use it for school purposes, right? For my living expenses. Anyways, I think I took out like $300 or $500. I sit down at a poker table, and as soon as I sit down, I start to feel this excitement, this little like high, right? When you like sit down at a table, it just, again, like I think it's might be hard for you to understand who hasn't really gambled before, but yeah, it's just that high, like dopamine kick. Yeah, the rush of dopamine, right? You get when you sit down to gamble, right? But anyways, yeah, as soon as I sit down, the old memories start to come back, and all the old emotions start to come back again. And it wasn't complete like the 100% pleasant feelings either, because I was reminded of the times when I lost a lot of money, and I really hated myself. A lot of times I felt suicidal when I lost a lot of money, and yeah, all kinds of mixed emotions start to come up. But I just try to like push them away, right? Oh, like it's okay, like it's what happened in the past, but now it's gonna be different. Like I know I'm gonna win, right? Again, justifying, right? Rationalizing. But anyways, I sit down, and I think I lose that $300 to $500 like within the next maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes. I haven't played in a while, and I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm not a good player. I'm not good at poker, right? And yeah, I quickly lost that whole buy-in I had. You know, $300, $500, not a little amount of money, right? But I lose that, and then without even a split second of hesitation, I tell the dealer, you know, that I'm going to come back, right? So I let the dealer know that I'm gonna come back, and yeah, I walk up to the ATM again, take out another. I think I took out like $5,000, and then I sit down again, lose again, and I just repeat that over and over that night. And soon enough, I think I ended up losing like $2,000 or $3,000, right? And I guess that night, I think even if I definitely relapsed that night and I lost control, but I think I didn't lose enough control to lose all the money I had in my bank account, right? So I actually stopped halfway. So like I only lost half of what I had in my checking account, which I don't understand how I was able to do that, because I usually, when I used to play before that time, I completely empty my balance, right? Empty my account, right? I just always go all the way, right? But I don't know. I think I got scared, right? I think I got really. I think it's because I could feel my hands and my hands were start shaking and like trembling, right? I knew I was like going down that path again, and maybe God may have helped, right? But I don't know. I was able to actually stop halfway. I did not lose all my money I had in my checking account, that student loan I took out, right? So that night, I think I ended up losing $2,500 or $3,000, and I still had left like 2,000 or 3,000, right? Again, like if this doesn't necessarily apply to me, but it applies to like all the gambling addicts. When you're addicted, you usually end up just spending all your money. So I really don't know what happened that night, but for me to actually just pull back. But anyways, I believe that was the very last time I actually gambled. Since then, I haven't gambled. So, in a way, I think, and it might have been a blessing in disguise, because that was really, I mean, okay, like first of all, I was really distraught, right? I was devastated that I relapsed after having been that bet free for the last 2 years, because I really thought that I was completely recovered, right? I was so disappointed in myself. I mean, it's an understatement. I was so distraught and devastated. Like, how could I have gambled with money that I couldn't lose, right? It was for my school. But anyways, I think in a way, I think it was a blessing in disguise, because since then I have not placed any kind of bet anywhere, right? I've never gambled, right? And I think it was a really good reminder for me that, like, this addiction I realize now, it's never gonna go away. It's always going to be there, right, with me. And it's going to try to take control over my life again when it's going to try to catch me off guard, right? When I feel too comfortable with myself, maybe like falsely believing that I am recovered from gambling addiction, right? So that night it was really, really shocking that I gambled, but in a way it was a really good wake-up call for me, because now that night I really came to realization that, okay, like this gambling addiction, I'm gonna have to live with it for the rest of my life. It's never gonna go away. I'm not going to ever again start to delude myself, right, that this addiction has disappeared. I'm not gonna pretend like it's gone, or I'm not gonna pretend like it's not there, right? So that's what happened. So since then, So right now, yeah, I don't. It doesn't never really crosses mind when I'm like as I'm talking about gambling and playing poker or whatever. It never really crosses mind to want to gamble. I don't have that cravings. I don't have the urge. So then again, I could start telling myself, oh, like my gambling addiction is not there anymore. I'm completely recovered now. But no, I don't think that anymore. Yeah, I truly believe that um, any form of addiction is a lifelong journey until you're dead, right? So I feel like this is actually a blessing that it actually happened. I think I really needed that to come to this kind of realization, right? Yeah. Sorry, I think I might have went on a rant too much. But I think I'm glad to talk about this because I don't think I really truly explained what might have happened with my gambling addiction in my other video, right? When I talk about my gambling addiction history, I feel like I get to talk about it more freely and more at a more personal level when I do live stream. I don't know. Maybe it's because it's longer. I don't know, but I feel like I can actually have a conversation with you guys more comfortably. When I record myself, I don't feel as comfortable. Yeah. But this feels like I'm just like, talking to you guys like one-on-one, right? I'm just talking. Like, it feels like I'm talking to just my friend, right? So this is free therapy for Kenji. Yeah, I think it's true. I think it's true. Hey, Kamsha, Chimap, love you, Kenji. Love you too, Kamsha, Chimap. I like your nickname. Oh man, weren't you there during my last live stream, Kamsha? I think I think I recognize your name. Of course, how can I forget, right? You have such a unique handle. Yeah. Oh wow, I feel hungry. I've been on live stream for 3 hours. Oh my god. Some spoiler for the next video. Actually, I was going to talk about how expensive how buying a house is nowadays, but yeah, I think now I talked about it during my live stream. I don't know what I'm gonna talk about actually in my next video. Yeah, I might actually talk about my first chemo experience maybe, but we'll see. I guess I try to stay away from talking about too much about my cancer, I guess, because I don't want to make my whole contents about like cancer, right? I feel like it's already kind of skewed to that topic a little since my diagnosis, because there are other stuff I want to talk about too, right? I have saved all these like different topics I wanted to talk about, and also my past experiences, and there are more stories of me asking for a girl's number and getting rejected, brutally rejected, right? So yeah, I don't know. Also, I could talk about my narcissistic dad growing up, living with him, how difficult of a time I had because of him, and how it still impacts me even to this day. I think a lot of interaction with him has definitely negative impacted my life, and some of it was very traumatic, right? Like there was a time like when my dad got really mad at me, like he would tell me to go like kill myself, right? That's when I was like 12, 13, when we were in Korea, right? My dad, he had a lot of anger issues, and he sometimes really lost his cool, and he would say a lot of things that were quite harsh and sometimes even inappropriate, right? That's why my childhood was really, really kind of like there were a lot of experiences that really negative impacted to me, and my child was a lot of it was just pretty dark. Not all of it, but just some pieces of it. It was so traumatic and strong that it really left this like lingering like negative footprint in my or imprint in my brain, right? Imprint in my memory. So I think I also plan to share that as well. Let's see. Sierra Garrity, maybe you can do a poll in the community section of your channel. You get to choose what topics and people can pick. What do you think about this? Oh, this is actually such a great idea. Yeah, I think I'll do that. Yeah, maybe I'll choose like 4 or 5 topics I want to talk about, and then you guys can let me know, and then I can create a video off of that, right? I think that's actually great, because I actually usually it's been actually kind of hard for me to choose what to talk about. Not because I don't have stuff to talk about, but because I feel like I have too much I want to talk about, and I have ADHD, and it's one of the biggest struggle for people with ADHD is actually prioritizing, right? What's more important and what's less important. Like people with ADHD, at least for me, my experience has been that I go with what feels most urgent, but just because something feels more urgent doesn't mean it's more important. And it may not make sense, but this actually is it really fucks up your like work performance, and this has gotten me into trouble a lot, and in trouble a lot, right? So sometimes or a lot of times I always struggle with prioritizing stuff. So maybe I can talk about that too. The Walamala, talk about what first comes to your head, write it down in no particular order, and go from there. That's how I created the list of the topics I wanted to do for my YouTube channel. But then it's just like it's a whole list of like 100 different topics in a specific order, right? And then when I go through the list, I'm like, okay, like all of these seem important or feels urgent for me to want to talk about, but I just don't know what to talk about, right? I don't know how to choose them. But yeah, let me try that poll method and see how that goes. Yeah, thanks for the idea, by the way. Right. Wow, 47 people still watching. That's crazy. All right. Well, anyways, I think it's about time for me to go. For me to wrap up. I think it's about time for me to go to bed too. What time is it now? Let's see. 10:29. So it's past my bedtime actually. Okay, so everyone, thanks for tuning in again on a Wednesday night. I hope you enjoyed my live stream today. And for those of you who didn't really get to watch or who missed, I hope you get to watch it or you check it out when it gets uploaded on the live tab. All right, good to see you, Sierra. Good to see you, Tizio. Good night. Take care. Okay, and I'll see you in the either next video or the next live stream. Okay. All right. Thanks everyone. Appreciate it. All right. Take care. Bye.